Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing some cozy autumn meal prep. So let's get cooking. What's up friends, my name is Fresha. I live alone here in beautiful New York City. Today I'm going to be making braised cabbages, marinated chicken breasts to throw in salads and warm pitas throughout the week, overnight oats to keep in the fridge for hectic mornings, stewed apples to put on my oatmeal or to have as a dessert, and I'm hard boiling some eggs to have on hand for snacks. So let's get into some cooking. Alright, so first I'm washing my cabbage. These are a little bit old, so I'm just pulling off the outer leaves that have started to brown. And then I'm going to cut up half the red cabbage and half of the green cabbage. Yes, I know I need to get my knife sharpened. I keep putting it off. I've only really eaten braised cabbage that was all red cabbage, but since I have both, I'm going to use both. That way I'll have the other halves in the fridge to use for salads throughout the week. Okay, I got a new lav mic that I was testing out for this video, and I could not figure out how to set it up correctly. So you'll see me toying with it and referencing it throughout the video. Oh, sweet summer child. I was so excited to use this, but I guess I'll just figure it out for the next video. And now I'm just mixing up the cabbages before I throw them in the pot. Honestly, I started to get really nervous here that I'd maybe cut too much cabbage. But keep in mind, this is going to reduce as you cook it, so don't feel overwhelmed by the initial volume. And here's the prepped cabbage. God, cabbage is such a beautiful veggie. I'm so glad we're entering cruciferous season because I do love me a good crucifer. Okay, so one thing I forgot to do before I started cutting the cabbage is to mark the time. So let me just... It's 12:58 right now. Let's just say I started maybe at like 12:45. Like 10-15 minutes ago, just with the cabbage. I have fully made the transition to cold weather breakfasts, so it's full-blown oatmeal season in this house. So I'm cutting up some apples to make stewed apples to spoon over my oatmeal in the mornings. I've been throwing bananas and raisins or frozen berries over my oatmeal, but I think having stewed apples on hand will give me another option to, zhuzh my oatmeal in the mornings and help me keep some variety at breakfast. I also needed to cut up a Granny Smith apple for my braised cabbages, as well as an onion. Please excuse my ridiculous goggles. My eyes are so sensitive to onions. And I've tried everything. I mean, obviously not having the dull knife doesn't help, but I've tried chopping them near open fires. I have had onion goggles in the past. God, my knife really does need to be sharpened just watching this back. I'm realizing how bad it is now. Okay, I'm gonna start cooking the braised cabbage because I forgot it takes over an hour to cook. And I've got shit I gotta do today, so... Alright, time to start cooking my braised cabbage. So I have my trusty, beloved, well-used Dutch oven. I actually was given this years ago by an older couple who I was friends with in LA. They're very chic dinks, double income, no kids. They just have the best style and a well-appointed home. So whenever they did their spring cleaning, they would gift me the things that they didn't want and that I couldn't afford to buy for myself in my 20s. So this Dutch oven, some stainless steel pans, an immersion blender, old artwork. That's honestly a major hack for people in your 20s if you can find cool older couples to adopt you as their little sibling. Honestly, all the things that my older friends gave me in my 20s are some of my most loved and well-used things in my home. And when I use them, it's such a nice reminder of the community and loved ones in my life who have taken care of me and just helped shape the woman I am today and who have just been so generous with their old things or their time or their advice. So we're heating up the pan, throwing some avocado oil in, then adding the onions. We're gonna stir these for a few minutes until they become slightly tender. Then we're adding 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. I got this balsamic vinegar at the Italian deli in my neighborhood, which is just packed to the brim with tons of great handmade pasta, imported Italian products, and Italian sweets. So it's one of my favorite places in the neighborhood. I'm just eyeballing all the measurements here. I really want to minimize the number of dishes I have to do at the end of this. So stir that vinegar in, and after a couple of minutes, I'm just adding the apples and cabbage in. After I cut the apples and cabbage, I covered them with cold water so they wouldn't oxidize too much while I was heating the oil and sauteing the onions. So I need to drain the cold water out now before adding them to the pot. And then we're going to add the cabbage to the Dutch oven and mix it up really well. Then we'll eyeball the remaining ingredients, a couple big pinches of salt, allspice, oh, that was kind of a lot, but whatever, and a few more dashes of balsamic vinegar. mix it all up well so the cabbage is evenly dressed, and I'm just gonna move this to a back burner so I have space to cook other things at the same time. Putting on the Apple Watch. Set timer for 2:55 and name it red cabbage.
1 hour red cabbage timer. Counting down.
It's about to get hot in here. Okay. I love having broccoli on hand. We all have our go-to veggies, you know, the ones that we like to eat and that we find easy and quick to prepare, and that's broccoli for me, whether it's steamed, sauteed, roasted, or just thrown into some stir fries. So I keep it in my little OXO food keeper, which is designed to provide airflow around prepped veggies, and that helps keep it fresh for longer than if I just left it in a normal Tupperware. Okay, you just heard my oven beep, meaning it's done preheating and it's time for me to prep my chicken. I'm just lining a big baking sheet with some parchment paper to reduce cleanup needed at the end. I actually prepared this chicken last week and I just had it sitting in marinade in the freezer. If you like eating chicken, I highly recommend doing this in bulk so you can have a bunch of chicken in marinade in your freezer ready to be defrosted when you need it. I normally do this in my tempered glass Tupperware, but I accidentally left my extra Tupperware at a friend's place after a dinner party, so I'm working with Ziploc bags in this video. There are 2 Ziplocs because I'm using 2 different marinades. One is more Asian influenced. It's from Recipe Tin Eats, and I can link it down below. The other marinade is more Greek, I guess. So I just pop these in a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes, and then I've got protein on hand for the week for salads, pitas, and quick dinners. All right, next we're gonna boil some eggs. I like having hard-boiled eggs in the fridge in case I want a snack with some protein. I can also, again, throw them in salads, and when I have leftovers towards the end of the week, I can make egg salad for sandwiches, which I love. So I'm just throwing a few eggs into a little pot. I don't know what's happening with that stuck one there. I know the recipe folks at the New York Times or Bone App say it's better to let the water come to a boil first before adding the eggs, but I hate adding eggs to boiling water. It just feels so treacherous to me, so I'll just add them before. I'm fine with a less than perfect egg if it means I get to avoid having to add eggs to boiling water. It's just not worth it to me. I'll just keep an eye on this pot of water, and right before it hits a boil, I'll set an alarm for 6 minutes. Okay, now I'm moving on to my stewed apples. So I have a pan that I've put about 1/4 or 1/2 cup of water in, which I'm adding my chopped apples to. And then to those, I'm adding brown sugar, maple syrup, vanilla extract, and apple pie spice. Technically, the recipe called for cinnamon, but I only just realized that I was out of cinnamon. So apple pie spice will work just fine. Then I'm mixing those in, and I'm gonna let them sit until it all comes to a simmer. In the meantime, my chicken is done, so I'm gonna get that out of the oven. Looking steamy and juicy and delicious. God, I just love my Apple Watch alarms. It's so helpful when I'm cooking multiple things at once. Otherwise, I really do think I'd forget about half the things I have going on. Like the number of things that would burn in my oven. I don't even want to think about it. All right, my eggs are just about done, so I'm going to fill a bowl with ice so I can shock the eggs in cold water. I had previously just been throwing the ice into the pot after I drained out the hot water, but my mom recently told me I shouldn't do that because it can warp my nice pots over time. So as much as I hate to do extra dishes, I hate mistreating my expensive cookware even more, so we're going to go with the extra step of filling a bowl with ice and cold water. Next up, I'm gonna grind up some seeds that I like to throw in smoothies. So I have chia seeds, hemp seeds, and flax seeds. I'm gonna add about 3 tablespoons of each, which is about as much as I'll use in a week. I've been putting these seeds in my smoothies for years, but I didn't realize until a year or so ago that you're actually supposed to grind up flax seeds before using them. So I've just gotten into the habit of grinding them every week during my meal prep. Ground up seeds can last in the fridge for 3 to 4 weeks, so even if I don't use them up during the week, I can roll them over into the next batch, which is what I'm doing here with the leftovers. All right, checking in on my other dishes. Apples are looking sweet, cabbage is looking delicious. Now it's time to start putting everything into Tupperware. My eggs have been chilling in ice water for a bit, and I'm just drying them off a little before putting them into their Tupperware. Now a bigger Tupperware for my cabbage. It did reduce quite a bit from the original uncooked volume, which is a relief. I could not have eaten that much cabbage, it would have been entirely too much for one person. When you're packing your cabbage away, make sure you're getting that extra juice at the bottom of the pot because that's full of flavor. My chicken has been cooling for some time as well, so I think it's ready to be put into its own Tupperware. Like I said, I'll use these randomly throughout the week for salads, sandwiches, pitas, stir fries, or as the protein for nights. I just need a quick and easy dinner. And finally, my apples for oatmeal, which actually reminds me I need to make some overnight oats, which is my preferred method for making oatmeal. It's just so easy and convenient. Like, it's so nice to not have to cook in the morning. I've just filled these mason jars with like 8 tablespoons of oats, roughly. I just eyeball it along with a tablespoon of chia seeds. From there, I'll add a splash of maple syrup and about 2 parts of soy milk to 1 part oats. This is a great recipe if you're plant-based because it's full of fiber. And to help balance it out, I'll add plant-based protein powder in a vanilla chai flavor. So it's filling, fibrous, balanced, as well as very delicious. I really like this brand and flavor of protein powder. You really can't tell that there's protein powder in the oats, especially because I heat them up in the microwave in the morning and throw a bunch of fruit on top like bananas, raisins, these stewed apples, or frozen berries. Oh, I also wanted to mark the time I ended, which is 3:18, so that's about 2.5 hours of prep time. To be totally honest, that's way longer than it normally takes me to meal prep. Meal prep rarely takes longer than an hour and a half at most for me, but this time I had to juggle cooking with filming, which I'm obviously still very new to, so I added quite a bit of time to the process. Okay, so here's my fridge with all of my prepped ingredients: chicken and cabbage up at the top, stewed apples and hard-boiled eggs in the middle, and overnight oats and ground seeds at the bottom. And that's a typical autumn meal prep for me. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.